Hi, this is Meta Tamel. I'm a senior computer scientist in data services team, and today I want to talk about some cool new features that we've been working on in data services. So first of all, if you haven't downloaded the latest version of data services, go to Adobe Labs, and we have a special section for data services for 6, which is the latest version, so you can grab it from there. Once you download and install it, you will realize that it comes with Tomcat bundled. And within Tomcat, there's an application called Data Services Samples, which is basically a collection of HelloWorld type of applications that showcase different features within data services. So let's take a look at that first. So let me go to my installation directory under, so this is where I installed it. Under there's Tomcat, and then under bin we just say Catalina sh run. So this is starting up Tomcat, and also our data services samples app needs HSQL DB, which is a text-based database. So let's make sure we start that as well. So under installation directory, there's something called sample DB. So that's where HSQL is. So there we type start dbsh. So that's starting up, and it's already running. Let's go back to our Tomcat, and it's starting up. As you can see, it says data services beta expires on December 15th, and that's running as well. So now let's go to our browser, and so if you go to HTTP localhost data services samples, so you hit this landing page. This is the application I was talking about. So you have some info at the top, and then some new features and their sample applications here, and then some older applications here. So the application that I want to show you, before I show you that, I mean, there's a lot of samples here, so you can go through them by yourself. But the one that I want to show you today it's a flex-based sample, and I want to show you how you can take that and convert that into an HTML JavaScript-based application. So instead of running within Flash, you can have it run just within the browser. So the application is under Test Drive. Test Drive is a series of applications for HTTP service and for web services and so on and so forth. So I'm going to go to the third application for remoting. So remoting basically enables you to expose a Java class on the server to your Flex clients. Um, so let's just take a look at the application first. So this is the application. As you can see, there's a grid, but it's empty right now, and there's a get data button at the bottom. So let me just click on that. So this basically makes a remoting call to the server. The server returns a bunch of data about some phones, and then this gets assigned to our data grid, and then the data grid just displays it. It's very simple, but it shows the essence of the feature. That's what remoting does. And let's just take a quick look at the source code. And by the way, this source code is available to you as well. Once you download data services, it has a zip file within data services samples application with all the source code. So as you can see, I mean, it's a really simple application. We create a remote object that talks to a destination called product. This destination is defined on the server, and we're going to take a look quickly very soon. We define a data grid, and we say, and then after that we have a button called get data. So once you click on the button, it basically calls get products on the service, and whatever gets returned from that, it gets assigned to data grid. So the data grid magically knows that, whatever is returned from the products, the result of that, I'm going to display that. So that's what data grid does. So let's take a look at the destination. So this is the destination product. As you can see, it just exposes the product service Java class on the server. So if you take a look at the product service, um, there it has a method called getProducts. So it basically queries the database and then creates an array of products with the information and just returns that. It's very simple. And lastly, if you look at the destination, it uses the default channel. So by default, it can use my AMF or my RTMP. So if you look at my AMF channel quickly in services config, so basically this is the URL that we are exposing to Flex clients, and that's what the client is going to use to talk to the server. So it's very simple, but it showcases the remoting aspects of data services. Now, So the question is, can we do this in pure HTML and JavaScript based application? Because you don't really need, I mean, what we're displaying here, it's very simple data and it can be displayed in HTML. There's no reason to have Flash here. So can we do that? And the answer is yes. So let's just copy this. I already worked on a sample called product arrow.html instead of Swift. So let me just, yeah, it's already pasted. So let's open that up. So we have this empty table right now, and we hit get data, and boom, as you can see, we have the same data, and there's no flash involved here. I mean, I'm right clicking, as you can see, there's no flash involved here. So let's take a look at this and see how that looks. So product arrow HTML. Well, the first thing to point out is that it is pointing to something called DataServices Client.js. So this is the JavaScript HTML5 JavaScript client SDK that we provide in the latest version of data services. So we are pointing to that. And after that, well, let's take a look at what happens when the page loads. So when it loads, we set up the table. If we take a look at the setup table, um, it basically creates a table with the column names and with some rows, but they're just empty at the beginning. Um, and then if you look at the button, when you call get data, we basically say get data button handler. So if you take a look at there, so first we initialize our remote object. What that means is that we create a channel, we create with the channel ID and URL, and let's take a look at those. If you look at channel ID and URL, this is my AMF and this is the URL that we saw from services config. So it's the same thing, and for destination we are using the same thing, product. So we are basically hitting this channel and hitting this destination like we did from Flex. Um, so once that's initialized, then we call invoke on our service and we pass in get product. So we are basically saying call get products method on the server. and then um, and then once that's done, we add some event listeners, result and fold handlers. So the result handler basically gets the result event, gets the result, which is an array collection, and from there gets the array of products, and it just iterates through products and sets them to the grid. So as you can see, there's more code here, and that's mostly because in MXML version, um, we have bindings, right? And data grid is smart enough to say, okay, this is a remote object, and whatever it returns, I'm gonna just display that, and it has intelligence built in already, and that's the beauty of Flex, is that there's a lot of boilerplate code that you don't have to worry about because it's taken care for you. But in HTML and JavaScript, I mean, there might be frameworks out there. I'm not sure, but in this sample, we are basically most of the code is just setting up the UI and make sure we have the table and table setup, and then when the result is returned, make sure that the right parts of the object is assigned to the right parts of the grid. But the important part of the sample is this. This is what we are providing. We are basically providing a way for your HTML JavaScript application to talk to our server, and we are doing it in ways that you are familiar with. We have channels and channel sets, just like we had in Flex. Um, then you create your remote object, set its channel set, and add event listeners. I mean, it's very similar to how you would do this in ActionScript. In MXML, of course, you don't have to do all that. All you do is just define your remote object and point to destination. But under the covers, when you compile this, it actually creates the ActionScript code. That's very similar to what you see here in JavaScript. So this is it. Hope this was useful.